devil. I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V-I, I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V-I, I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V, I'm the D-E-V-I-L. I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V-I, I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V-I, I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V, I'm the D-E-V-I-L, the devil.
What is going on, everybody? And welcome back to another episode of the renowned, fastest growing after 8 o'clock in the night Philadelphia sports talk show. That's right. The final word, MattyB, has once again landed smack dab in my and yours laps on this Wednesday, January 22nd, 2025, and it's great to be back. It's awesome to be back. Took a day off last night to do some post-game stuff, but you know what? The show must go on, and yes, it does go on, and I'm here, and I hope tonight we can have a productive conversation, and I mean a productive one. I absolutely mean that. I want to have a honest, bare-bones conversation about everything that is sort of on your mind. And of course, I will drive some topics out there because topics. These are topics tonight that I want to talk about because I think they're pertinent to the day. I think they're pertinent to the times we live in. Sports related, of course, for the Philadelphia sports scene. So tonight we're going to kind of kick some around. Obviously, the topic of the day, the night, the week, the last 4 months has been your Philadelphia Eagles. And now with the chance at going to the Super Bowl 59, the opportunity is there for them on Sunday to seize it and head on into that Super Bowl down in New Orleans against either the Kansas City Chiefs or the Buffalo Bills. But of course, the Washington Commanders will stand in their way and try to do everything they potentially can do to prevent the Eagles from cashing their ticket into that Super Bowl. And I guess it's a safe bet to say that is destiny on the side of the Philadelphia Eagles. Have they drank from the fountain of destiny in 2024? Is this the year, regardless of what the football gods throw at them, are they able to overcome and get to the Super Bowl and, God forbid, win one? That would be great. So obviously that's going to be one of our main, if not the main topic, is the Philadelphia Eagles and all the subtopics that are going to go around with it, because I do have something I got to get off my chest. I do got a question to ask. And it's a question that I've been sort of asking for the past 4 months, ever since week 5, or maybe not, I shouldn't say week 5. I wasn't akin to this in week 5. Maybe week 8 is when this kind of started. Is Saquon Barkley enough for the Philadelphia Eagles to win a Super Bowl? Because offensively, I'm having a problem with pulling anything out of the offense other than Saquon Barkley. And is that putting too many eggs in Saquon's basket? So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to discuss the injury bug that has sort of inflicted the Eagles at the worst possible time. And that I brought this point up on the show the other night, that is Jalen Hurts better off not playing in this game if he is hurt? Would the Eagles be better off playing another quarterback who could actually run Kellen Moore's playbook if Jalen Hurts is hurt? Because yes, when he's healthy and when he is fully mobile, he brings an X factor to the team and to that offense that has to be accounted for. But if that X factor, his mobility, has been disabled, would the Eagles be better off with a quarterback that can run the actual playbook than Jalen Hurts? Brought that topic up yesterday, or 2 days ago, I guess it was now. So we'll talk that. We're also going to speak on the Flyers a little bit. The Major League Baseball Hall of Fame has been announced. Class 2025 is here, and there's been some pushback on Ichiro not getting 100% of the vote. Cry me a friggin' river, man. Mike Schmidt didn't get 100% of the vote. And I would hazard to guess that Mike Schmidt was a lot more important and did a little bit more in his career than Ichiro did in his. Now, I'm not taking anything away from Ichiro. He was a hell of a player, sort of one of the best hitters, an outstanding defensive outfielder, deserving his place in Cooperstown. But people are going to hem and haw on whether or not he didn't get 100% of the vote. One player in the history of Hall of Fame voting has received 100% of the vote, and that was Rivera a few years back. So we'll discuss the Hall of Fame ballot and Hall of Fame inductees. I ain't going to get into all that nonsensical BS about Ichiro not getting 100% of the vote. Who gives a rat's ass? He got in. I don't care if it was me. I personally care if I got whatever I needed to get is the minimum percentage to get into the Hall of Fame I would take. And I'm sure Ryan Howard would take the minimum. I'm sure Bobby Abreu would take the minimum. I'm sure players along that side would take it as well. So him and Holland over 100% is ridiculous, if you ask me. So we're going to get a little bit into some baseball. I dropped my pen. Hang on. Also, you like that little up there. Also, we are going to do our of the night segments. We're going to do our card review. We're going to do the great things that we do here on the program. Your day in Philadelphia sports history. All that is going to get wrapped in a nice, pretty little bow over the next hour or so. So let's get it kicking off right now. Joe Hale back with us again. Joe, I am doing well tonight. I hope you are too, and I hope you're staying warm, Joe. I hope you're bundled up. And this cold, I guess, is on its way out. A couple more days, I think. Then it's going to get a little bit more seasonable for late January. So I hope, Joe, you're staying warm. I hope everybody out there is staying warm. Love the show tonight. Oh, thank you, Joe. I'm only 7 minutes in, man. I'm already got a fan. Good stuff, Joe. I appreciate that. And I appreciate that. And so does all the hard-working folk here over at the It's a Wrap Sports Network. We need your help. I'm on this thing telling you we need your help, especially on the YouTube platform. We're doing well, I think, okay on Facebook, and we're doing all right on X, but we need your help on YouTube. Please give us a like, a subscribe, a share. Bigger things are a brewing here on the network, and you don't have to do it if you don't like me. I just want to make that very, very basically clear. I get it. I don't fit. I'm a certain cup of tea. I understand that, but I'm not all that's going to be here. There's other people here. There's other points of view, because unlike other networks, unlike other shows, unlike other wannabe, they claim that they talk both sides of the story. They claim that your opinion matters to them. And again, I think that if you have to actually say that to somebody, that's such a low bar right there. But there's going to be other opinions on this network. I'm just one opinion. I'm one opinion. I'm one guy. If you don't like me, then fine. Check out some other people. We got big old Mike Laro joining the network here in about 10 days. He's going to be reunited with me and Sal from our EOP days. I got a big one in the brewing right now, too. There's one out there hanging in the stratosphere that I'm doing everything I can to get this guy. And it would be a absolute feather in our cap if we can get him. So, but if you don't like me, then okay, I get that. I'm not asking you to like me. I'm not asking you to tune in to see me. I'm asking you to tune into this beautiful network, because I'm not just the final word. It's a Wrap Sports. I'm trying to build this thing, and I'm building it for you. And it's not going to be all one-sided opinions, unlike other networks. Unlike other networks that put out the same show with just different faces, or as they say, the same circus with different clowns. That's not the way it is here. We are unique. We are individuals. We speak our mind. My opinions do not match Sal's. Sal's opinions don't match mine, but that's fine. That's the way it's supposed to be. How the hell can I get a network off the ground if all I have on it are people that agree with me or people that disagree with me? We need contrasting and convecting type of opinions. So please help out It's a Wrap Sports and get us off the ground, because we have some great things on the table for you this year and in the future. Thank you, Joe. Thank you for the like and subscribe. I saw you out there, Joe. I appreciate it, and all that. So let's get it going. I spent way too much time pandering. Now it's time to get down to the brass bones. Tonight's day in Philadelphia sports history is basketball related. I know it's a topic in this town that we don't talk about anymore, and rightfully so, and I agree with why we don't. Sweeping reform needs to come across the Philadelphia 76ers. And yes, I am a Sixer, or I shouldn't say that. I'm a basketball guy. I've always been a basketball guy. I grew up playing it. Grew up loving basketball in the greatest era of basketball, if you ask me, the greatest, the 80s into the 90s. That was when the NBA was at its apex, with the likes of Jordan, Bird, Barkley, Doc, Jesus God, Magic, Kareem, Lambeer, Ewing, the Twin Towers. I could go on and on and on and on and on. This is when basketball was basketball. It was king, and I grew up in it. And not only was NBA basketball king, but college basketball. All that stuff was great. It sucks now. It's a shell of what it was. It's a shell of what it is. I honestly would be okay with the whole product disappearing and then starting over in some other way and getting back to more of the basic things that got things going in the right way the first time. But tonight's day in Philadelphia sports history is a basketball point, and I harken back to the ripe year of 92. On this night, a record was broken. A Philadelphia 76er record was broken. Somebody took over as the career leader in rebounds. Now, a lot of people, when you talk about points, talk about rebounds, you talk about certain stats that are surrounding the Philadelphia 76ers, certain players sort of pop into your mind, right? You look at points, you're looking at Iverson or Doc. You'd be easy to kind of narrow it down to either one of those two, right? You talk about rebounds. What's the first name that pops into your mind about who you think could be the Sixers' all-time rebounding leader? Well, in my opinion, it's Wilt Chamberlain, right? That's the most obvious name that kind of pops into mind, but not the case. On this night in 1992, Charles Barkley entered and entrenched his name into the Sixer record book when he grabbed his 6,642nd rebound for the Sixers in a game against the Knicks, becoming and holding on to, and to this day still, the Sixers' all-time rebounding leader in franchise history. So it's funny because Chamberlain, not only scoring 100 points in a single game, also grabbed 55 rebounds in one game in his career. Can you imagine that? 55 rebounds in the same freaking in one game. Wow, that is not the NBA of today. But there you have it. Charles Barkley enters the Sixers record books tonight, on this night back in 92, becoming the Sixers' career leader in rebounds in franchise history. He did it against the Knicks back on this night in 1992. And there you go. There is your day in Philadelphia sports history. Brought to you by the fine folks here at the It's a Wrap Sports Network, who are pleading for you to like and subscribe, help us out, help us grow, help us become truly the people's voice when it comes to sports. Because that is one thing. I have a very low bar for my personalities here on this network. I have a very low bar for those that contribute here on It's a Wrap Sports. I don't care what your opinions are. I don't care what your stance is on things. You speak your friggin' mind, but let me tell you what, you better speak your friggin' mind. You don't kiss ass. You don't suck off a power teat. You don't put your hand in anybody's pocket. You speak your friggin' mind, whatever that is. You just speak your mind. And that is the only stipulation I have on any of my personalities or any of the hosts. Now, I don't speak as my personalities as I have dual personalities. That's not what I'm saying. But that is the only limitation or stipulation, not limitation, but stipulation I put on people that are part of this network, is that you speak your mind regardless of what that is. So, yeah, there you have it. Your day in Philadelphia sports history, Charles Barkley, the all-time rebounding leader in franchise history. So let's get into it. Eagles. See, I got the Sixers on my brain. Eagles and Commanders Sunday, 3 p.m. at the Link. And Eagles' ninth NFC Championship game appearance in franchise history. They are, what are they at home? So they're 1-0. They beat the Cowboys in 81. Then they lost to the Buccaneers. They lost to the Buccaneers and then the Panthers. So that's 1-2. They beat the Vikings. That's 2-2. They beat the 49ers. So they're 3-2 at home all time in NFC championship gameplay. So that's promising heading into the game. They're above 500. They are facing a team in the Washington Commanders that they've obviously a divisional opponent. They split the regular season series one game apiece, and the last game of that series, the last game of their head-to-heads of 2024 is obviously the more pertinent one. The one back in week 16, I think it was, week 17, around that area. The Eagles, they opened up a 21-6 lead in that game and then had everything fall apart on the injury of Jalen Hurts when he left the game due to a concussion. And a lot of people are pulling solace. Now, listen, before I start this, I do not let me kind of put this in the right frame of word here. I don't enter this game with a complete I don't have complete security in the fact that the Eagles won't win this game. I think they will, actually. You have to wait and see on the Birds Blast my official pick, but I don't go into this game feeling like over the moon confident that the Commanders are going to come in here and win this game. Absolutely not. I think the Eagles are a better team on paper, but the Commanders have proven they can beat the Eagles, and they've also proven they can beat the best in the NFC has to offer up to this point, and that is on the road against the Lions. So there's some credence to that, and there's some traps and pitfalls that the Eagles definitely got to be careful on. And what is the one team out there that showed everybody how to beat the Philadelphia Eagles? And that was the Commanders. Now, you're going to use Jalen Hurts' injury, and the homers do this, and that's fine. I can accept it. The Jalen Hurts injury as one of the reasons why they lost that football game. Okay, I can hang my hat a little bit on that, but Jalen Hurts had nothing to do, or Jalen Hurts' injury had nothing to do with the 36 points that the Commanders hung on the Eagle offense, or Eagle defense, sorry. And no, it has nothing to do with momentum. The Eagles defense wasn't lamenting over the loss of Jalen Hurts. They weren't crying on the sidelines because they lost their leader. No, the Commanders had a better game plan. They attacked the Eagles in their weaknesses. Jalen Daniels is a force to be reckoned with, regardless of what he's going to be next year, the year after that. Or, I don't really care. It's about what's happening this year right now. It's what's happening on Sunday. He's a force to be reckoned with. He's coming into this game supremely confident in his abilities. So there's something to be concerned about with Jaden Daniels. He's proven he can beat the Eagles, both with his feet and with his arm, in the very recent past. And that's something that you cannot overlook if you're an Eagles fan. You cannot overlook that, and you cannot go into this game with put it in the bank, we're winning this game, we're going to the Super Bowl. You can't do that, because if you do, you're going to find yourself in a world of hurt if they don't do it. One of the three teams that proved they could beat the Eagles this year was the Washington Commanders. And it was back in week 16, which was not that long ago. So they did it once. Can they do it another time? And that's going to be the big thing. This time it's in Philly. This time it's with everything on the line. The Super Bowl is waiting out there. Are the Eagles the more battle-tested team? Oh, yeah, maybe. They have recent history in the NFC Championship game. The Washington Commanders have not been at this plateau since 1992 or 91 or something like that. That's about a bazillion years ago. Eagles were here 2 years ago. So, yes, you got to give the intangibles to the Eagles. You got to give all those stats to the Eagles. But there's one thing that's looming, or there's two things looming out there for me when it comes to the Eagles in this game that scare me. One, it's Jalen Hurts. It's always been Jalen Hurts to me. It's always been. And now we got a dinged up Jalen Hurts. I said it the other night. I'm going to say it again. I said it earlier. I'm going to say it again. Are the Philadelphia Eagles ultimately better off if Jalen Hurts is not 100% mobile? Are the Eagles better off turning the offense over to a quarterback that can actually run the playbook? Actually run the playbook. Actually do the quick hitters. Actually do the slant patterns. Actually do those out curl patterns and those whatever quick hitters that Kellen Moore predicates his offense on. Are we better off giving it to a quarterback that can run the playbook? Because Jalen Hurts doesn't run the playbook. Jalen Hurts runs the Moriarty playbook, which is a combination of Nick Sirianni and Kellen Moore. And then they use a lot of his X factor, which is his mobility, his ability to pick up yards on his feet to their advantage, rightfully so. But if that is out of the game, if Jalen Hurts can't move, if Jalen Hurts can't pivot on a dime. If Jalen Hurts can't do those things, that makes Jalen Hurts, because honestly, it's not his quarterback ability, it's that X factor that sets him apart. But if Jalen Hurts can't do those things, are the Eagles hamstringing themselves in this game on Sunday against the Washington Commanders, who have proven they can beat the Eagles? Now, I suspect they're going to definitely load the box against the Eagles and not under any circumstances allow Saquon Barkley to beat them. They are going to put the game solely in Jalen Hurts' hands and say, here you go. Beat us if you can. Because it makes perfect sense to me that they would. I think they would have done it anyway, but now you factor in this injury. Now you factor in he's clipped up. They're definitely going to turn the game over to Jalen Hurts. They are not going to let Saquon Barkley beat them. Because if they try to, Saquon Barkley has proven it time and time again he's a game changer. Saquon Barkley has proven again, time and time again, that he is where this offense runs. Now, this leads me to my main topic of the night, which the show is titled, Without Saquon, the Eagles are nothing. And it's the truth. And not a lot of attention is paid to that. When somebody brings it up, it's glossed over in some ridiculous, inane, well, if you didn't have a running back who would rush for 2,000 yards, well, maybe you throw the ball more. That's not what this is about, folks. It's not about that, because we did throw the football more back weeks 1, 2, 3, and 4. And it didn't work for us. Jalen Hurts was turning the football over. Jalen Hurts was unable to run the playbook. So in week 5, coming out of the bye, they went to a new run-heavy offense. So yes, they tried to be a passing offense under Jalen Hurts and Kellen Moore in the beginning of the season. We forget that. We forget that that's what the offense was in the beginning of the season, was pass first, and it didn't work. So they went to a run-heavy package, and it has worked gangbusters. But are we too far gone? Are we too far now on the other side of that aisle to pull it back if we have to? Interesting numbers, folks, that I did here on the program preparing for this show, and I want to put it up here because I think it presents my point famously. Let's talk about Saquon Barkley. Let's talk about what he does. So this is my God, this is the Eagles' offensive numbers in 2024. 6,242 total yards from scrimmage the Eagles' offense has gained this year. 53 touchdowns. Saquon Barkley has accounted for 2,283 of those yards and 15 of those touchdowns. So that averages out to about 37% of the total offense, yardage-wise, and 28% of the total touchdowns are in direct result of Saquon Barkley. Is that too much? Is that too much to put completely on one man's shoulders? What happens if he gets hurt? That left hand is all dinged up right now. We're not talking about that either, but he hurt that left hand in that game. I'm not saying that's something that's going to keep him out of the game, but the armor might be cracked. And is it too much to put on Saquon Barkley? Does the offense flow too heavily through Saquon Barkley? If for some odd reason, two things. If the Commanders find a way to shut him down, can the Eagles pivot off and start throwing the football and win? And number two, if he gets hurt, if Saquon goes down in this game, what do the Eagles do offensively? Defensively, it is what it is at this point. They are one of the best defenses in the NFL. No doubt about it. But they gave up 36 points to the Washington Commanders last time out. They didn't have DJ because he got kicked out. They had Jalen Carter was maybe playing a little bit timidly because he already had that personal foul penalty against him. I don't know. But they gave up 36 points to the Washington Commanders last time out. And no Nakobe Dean. Also, the X factor for me in this ball game is 100% number 86 for the Washington Commanders, Zach friggin' Ertz. We better pay attention to him. Eagles better put a body on Zach Ertz. That middle of the field is going to be wide open, and I don't feel comfortable with Burks on Zach Ertz. Ooh, Burks on Ertz. I don't feel comfortable with that. I don't feel comfortable with Jeremiah Trotter Jr. trying to cover Zach friggin' Ertz across the middle of the field. Zach Ertz has been there. Zach Ertz has done that, and Zach Ertz has got the ring. I don't feel comfortable with the middle of the Philadelphia Eagle field defensively and Zach Ertz running across it. He's an X factor that has to be accounted for by the Philadelphia Eagle defense. I'm telling you, you heard it here first on the final word on Wednesday night. Zach Ertz is poised to have a big game, and what so poetic justice, I guess, at the link in a place he knows very well, very familiar with the terrain, very successful at the terrain as well. Zach Ertz was he started to become sort of a likely target last week in the Lions game for Jaden Daniels. Keep an eye on Zach Ertz. I'm just telling you, keep an eye on him. I don't like the matchup. I don't like the matchup between the Eagle linebackers and Zach Ertz heading into this ball game. Oh man. I think Barkley carries to the team on his back. So, Joe, what do you mean by that? Like, there's carrying your team on your back and being that guy, that leader. That's one thing, but being literally the central focus of the offense. Now, it's funny because every team in the NFL knows it, but yet nobody has been able to shut it down or stop it. Nobody has, and that's a credit to the Eagles. That's a credit to the Eagles' offensive line. That's a credit to the Eagles' philosophy. That's a credit to Saquon Barkley. But how long is that going to run? The team that the Eagles are playing on Sunday beat the Eagles, and they limited Saquon in that game as well. They found a way because they did not respect Kenny Pickett, so they put 8 in the box, and they made Kenny Pickett throw the football. Right? I mean, let's not lie. That's what they did. A lot of base stuff, a lot of cover zero stuff. They put everybody up and said, "Okay, we're not letting Saquon Barkley beat us." The Los Angeles friggin' Rams could have taken a lesson out of the Commander's book, for God's sakes. I said it on the post game, or no, not the post game. I said it on Sunday night. When you go into a game preparing for somebody who just put up 300 and some odd yards of total offense against you, and you come out of that game with another piss poor effort, when he puts up 225 total yards of offense, accounting for over 500 yards of offense against you in 2 games, there needs to be an investigation out in LA with the defensive coordinator and the rest of the staff to allow that to happen. That I don't care. If I was Sean McVay, I don't care if Jalen throws for 900 yards and 55 touchdown passes. I don't want Saquon Barkley beating me. We can't have that happen again. So one of the few teams that have proven their ability to stop Saquon Barkley is now poised again with the same opportunity and a similar situation. Jalen Hurts is not out of the game, but Jalen Hurts is not Jalen Hurts right now. He's limited. So it's a similar type of situation. And a lot of people are like, well, again, you can't compare the 2 games because they didn't have Jalen Hurts the last game. Well, do they have Jalen Hurts this game? That's the question you got to ask yourself, Philadelphia. What's the difference? You got a Jalen Hurts who can't move. If that's the case, what is the difference between not having him at all? So it's going to be probably a very similar game plan for the Commanders on defense. Stack the box. Don't let this guy beat us. And then we're going to see, because if the Commanders can't do it, if they can't figure out Barkley and the Eagles, which probably will happen, the Eagles will find their way into the Super Bowl. Then you got Kansas City and Buffalo to contend with. And not only now you're dealing with two bona fide superstar quarterbacks, one that's been winning Super Bowls for the last 4 years, epically, and the other one who's probably chomping at a bit to win a Super Bowl worse than any other quarterback in this league and is having an MVP season to boot. Now you have to contend with trying to go touchdown for touchdown with a team like the Chiefs or Bills. I'm just saying, man, the road is not getting any easier. It's going to get harder as the Eagles move through this. And on Sunday, are the Eagles equipped to win this game with a binged up Jalen Hurts and an offense that flows completely through Saquon Barkley's feet? I think you're putting way too much on Saquon Barkley. You're putting way too much on him. You can't do that. Somebody along the line is going to figure it out. And the Commanders already have. And they've proven it last time they played. So we'll see. If Hurts is hurt, I would play Tanner McKee over Pickett. Yeah, but first of all, Joe, you know as well as I do, the only way Jalen Hurts won't play this football is if he cannot get out of bed. Like if he can't walk, then they won't play him, which I think is ridiculous. If Jalen Hurts is limited. Now, what did they have? They had a private closed doors walkthrough today, no media. Why they do that? Obviously, I think they're trying to not mask something deliberately, but probably trying to assess him behind closed doors without anything getting out. Smart. Everybody knows he's hurt. But as far as Tanner McKee over Pickett, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. This is not the preseason. It's the NFC Championship game. Maybe you put Pickett in with a really tight leash, and if he starts to struggle, then you make the move. Or you get creative with it. I don't know. I would probably have to go with Kenny Pickett. He's been a starter at this level, but who knows? But that's the main question for me: is why would you go with the dinged up Jalen Hurts, and who would run that playbook better? We saw Tanner McKee run it okay. Kenny Pickett ran the playbook, and Kenny Pickett moved the football against the Commanders. The defense couldn't stop the Commanders in that game. We all forget about that. Everyone just goes right to the Jalen Hurts injury and then equates the Jalen Hurts injury with the Eagles losing the game. That's not what happened. You know that. The Eagles moved the ball. Kenny Pickett was okay. He was moving the offense. He threw a touchdown in that game. He moved the offense. It's just the defense could not keep the damn Commanders off the scoreboard. We all just equate that Jalen Hurts' injury equal to the Eagles' loss. That's not what happened. You know that. It's not what happened. If Barkley gets hurt, I would still run the ball with Gainwell and Shipley. Then you're looking for a trip home, man, because there's no way they're going to be able to replicate what Saquon Barkley's doing, man. If you stack the box, you'll throw deep in the screen pass. Okay. If you stack the box, you throw the deep ball in the screen pass. All right. So when have we ever been able to run a screen pass since Andy Reid left town? The Eagles can't run screen passes. They've been horrible at it for years. They're terrible under Nick Sirianni on running screen passes. The YOLO ball down the field on the sidelines, 100%. That is their bread and butter. They're going to do that regardless if they can run the ball or not. We got that, Joe. I agree with you there. But the screen pass, there's no, and that's the problem too. That's the problem too, Joe. Everybody's ragging on, it's ragging on Hurts actually about the whole 8 seconds that he had in that Green Bay Packer game to throw that touchdown pass to Deshaun Dotson across the middle of the field. It took 8 seconds for that play to develop. 8 seconds. You can't do that. They're not going to have 8 seconds to do that. And the across the middle stuff, Joe, I don't know if you heard me on the rant on this too. I agree with that. I think it's a big part of the Kellen Moore offense that they don't run because of Jalen Hurts. And here's my stats to back that up. In 2024, Hurts attempted 361 passes, but only 48 of them were to the middle of the field. That averaged out, Joe, to about 8.7% of the Philadelphia Eagle passing attack was centered around this middle of the field. Why? No one can answer me. No, what is the reason for that? How do you not throw less than 50 passes in a season to the middle of the field? That's not by accident. That's by design, Joe, because they don't trust Jalen Hurts to throw the ball to the middle of the field. They learned their lesson weeks 1 through 4 when he was throwing interceptions and turning the ball over epically and taking more sacks than he's been taking. Because he's waiting for these patterns to develop. The quick hitters, the slants. I hear these Homer fans demand, pound the table. I want the screen, or not the screen. I want the slant. I want the quick hitter. Okay, why they don't do it? They haven't done it all season. And when they do it, it takes 8 seconds for a play to develop. That's not on Jalen Hurts, by the way. So the two questions I have offensively for this football team, the Eagles, 3 questions. I'm adding more as I go. Is too much of the offense centered around Saquon Barkley? Are the Eagles asking for the death roll? if they lose Saquon Barkley or if somebody figures out how to limit them. The injury situation with Jalen Hurts, would the team be better off playing somebody else that can actually run the playbook, who can actually go through the playbook and run the plays, versus a quarterback who is a game changer when he's mobile, is a game changer when he can move, but he can't, and he doesn't run the playbook? Are the Eagles better off turning the offense over to a quarterback that can run the playbook and utilize all the weapons of the offense? And number three, what was three? Saquon, Jalen. Why do they only throw the ball 48 times in the middle of the field? I don't know. There are my two major points offensively for the Eagles in this game. Joe says, my player for watching the watch is Zacharias. Yes, the former Eagle cast-off. Didn't he have Amadeus Zacharias? Didn't he have a touchdown against the Eagles, or he had a few in the week after that? Or listen, that's what I guess the number 3 wideout does, a slot guy. I mean, you got to give Jaden Daniels credit, man. I mean, he's taking this team on his back. Now, that's the story of a player taking a team on the back. He's taking the Commanders on his back. They don't have nearly the weapons that Detroit has. They don't have nearly the weapons that the Eagles have. But yeah, here they are standing on the precipice of a Super Bowl appearance on their own. And stop. And the best is this. I'm not disrespecting the Commanders, but yeah, you are. Just say you are. You're disrespecting them. 98.6% of the Eagle fans out there have no respect for the Washington Commanders. They don't feel in any way threatened by the Washington Commanders on Sunday against the Eagles. They're not. They might have learned their lesson against the Packers, but they feel that way, but they're not saying it. But they still feel that way. So don't stop giving me the whole nonsense. Well, I don't disrespect them. I don't fear them. But they're a good team. They're a good little story. Stop saying it, man. Of course you disrespect them. Of course you don't fear them, right? Because we got Providence on our side. We got Saquon Barkley on our side. We got AJ Brown and his power of a book reading on our side. We got all that working for us. I'm telling you, man. Commanders were the one team that did it. The Commanders were the one team that not only did they do it, they came back from a 21-6 deficit and did it. We forget about that too. Saying it ain't all in the bag. Oh, Steve. Hell you been, man. I gotta wonder what the Commanders would have looked like with Dotson. That's another thing. You got Zacharias there running slant patterns. He's that number. Well, you know what? Here's the thing, though. Terry McLaurin is not AJ Brown. Who's the number 2 wide receiver for the Commanders? Redskins. Who's the number 2 for the Redskins? I don't even know who that is. If Jaden Daniels would have the weapons that AJ has or Jalen has. And obviously that's what the recipe for the Commanders going forward is going to be, is to build some sort of offense around Jaden Daniels, give him the weapons that he needs to succeed. But you're right. What would Dotson look like in a Jaden Daniels offense? Because he doesn't look well here because we don't throw the ball to the middle of the field. But they do that in Washington. People are still looking at the CJ, GJ ejection and Hurts game exit without factoring his current injury in. And I've been saying that. So very good points that I brought up already, Steve, and I'll rehash them for you because I agree with you 100%. And I think it's more holistic than that. I think that the CJ, GJ thing and the Jalen Hurts injury are probably the two main factors that people are gravitating towards to make them feel better about what happened against the Eagles, against the Commanders the last time they played them. I 100% agree with you. But Kenny Pickett moved the football admirably. Kenny Pickett moved the ball. Kenny Pickett took him on a touchdown drive. I think he took him on 2. And then the Devontae Smith drop pass. I mean, come on. That wasn't on Kenny Pickett. That was a perfectly thrown football, right? The CJ, DJ thing, okay, I can give you that. It's a safety, though, Steve. It's a safety. We have all this great talent on this team. We could not have covered down on him. So they gave up 36 points to the Washington Commanders offense. That's not all because we didn't have CJ, DJ, GJ. It's not. But I agree with what fans are thinking. They're forgetting all the filler of that game. They're just remembering that we lost Jalen Hurts and that CJ, GJ got ejected. That's all they see. And you're right. And it's fool's gold, Steve, to think that way. The Commanders have had a little bit more of a hard road to hoe to get to this point than the Eagles do. And the fact, I heard some buffoon here today, earlier today, say to me that the factor of Dan Quinn and his team playing with house money has no stake in this game. It has nothing to do with this game. That might be the most ridiculous statement I've ever heard in my life. It has everything to do with it. The Commanders aren't supposed to be here. It's already, this season for them is off the chain successful already. It doesn't really, I think, matter if they win on Sunday. And when you look at where they've come from, they won 4 games last year. They haven't been in an NFC championship game since I was a senior in high school, for God's sakes. Of course, this is a monster season of success. So the whole house money thing is huge in this game because Dan Quinn is going to coach this game like it don't matter. He's going to coach it like every possession is a 4-touch possession, man. Be ready for that. And I'm not saying it's going to work for him, and it may be the reason why they lose, but he's going to coach that way because he is playing with straight up house money. And for any Eagle fan or pundit or media personality to overlook that or to not give that its due is just homer slobbering, extreme left homerism at its finest. You got to factor that in, man. Got to factor it in. Damani Brown helps to stretch the field, which we didn't need to account for before. That's a concern, especially if there's an isolation on CJ versus Brown. So he's the number 2. I don't even know that, Steve. Thank you. Absolutely. And then Quinyon, I know he said he's going to play. He's back. He's got the dinged up shoulder. Nothing serious. He'll be back for the game. No issues, but he's clipped. He's hurt. They know that. They're going to target Quinyon. They're going to make him jump to that side and put up his arms and see exactly how clipped up he is. They're going to take advantage of those things. Nakobe Dean not being in this game, I said it, and I'll say it again. Look for Zach Ertz to be a huge X factor on Sunday. A huge X factor. Dan Quinn is going to ride Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz will catch touchdown in this game. I tell you. The over-under, I don't know what it is. Maybe a bold prediction. Should be 2 touchdowns. Will you take the over or under on that? For Zach Ertz catching 2 for $100. I don't know. I would take the over personally. Hopefully 28-3. Hopefully it does, Steve. I agree with you. But listen, there's a lot of storylines to get into on this game. And tomorrow, or I should say Friday. Is that when we're doing it? Friday, yes. Coordinated it today. Friday at 4:30, as your workday is ending. Be here or be squeer. The Birds Blast. Kyle Quinn returns. And we are going to cut up, or we're going to look one last time at the Rams game. And we're going to tear up this Commanders game here on Sunday as the Bird Blast will make its NFC Championship game third time we've done that. Our second NFC Championship. Yeah, our second NFC Championship game together, me and Kyle Quinn. So we're looking forward. Can't wait. Want to tear it up. Want to have some fun with it. Make sure you're there. Friday at 4:30 p.m. Kyle Quinn from 94 WIP will be joining me as he does every week throughout the football season, and we talk Birds football. And one last point before we move on to another topic, I want to put this back up there again. Here it is, folks. Without Saquon Barkley, the Eagles equal nothing. Absolutely nothing. And there are the numbers to support it all. 6,242 yards of total offense for the Birds in 2024. 53 touchdowns. Saquon Barkley has accounted for 2,283 of those yards and 15 touchdowns, which equates to 37% and 28% respectively. That is too much. That is too much responsibility to give one man. That is putting too many eggs in your Saquon Barkley basket in 2024. It has worked up to this point, but can it continue to work for the games that matter as we move down the stretch of 2024? We'll see. I'm interested. Oh, Steve. So what the F has got into these Flyers? Is their ceiling rising? Is their floor rising? What the hell you mean by their floor? How can the floor rise? Steve, what is it now? 11 points in their last 6 games. They have not lost in regulation since January 9th. Last night, a game in which they could have turtled up, Steve. Up 1-0, heading into the third period. You give up those pesky early period goals, 30 seconds into the third period, you got a tie game. They weren't able to build upon that lead as the game moved on. So they went into the third period nursing a 1-0 lead. That lead went away. They fought hard through the third period and then ended up winning in overtime. I said it on the Panther game when they were down. Was it 2-0 in that game? And they battled their way back. Not only to battle their way back, but to actually win that game. That was a growth moment for the team. I really felt that, even though they went out the next night against the Stars, they got blown out. But I still felt that was a growth moment for the Flyers. Now, this game against the Red Wings, yeah, I get it, it's the Red Wings, but they're a team that's in similar position than the Flyers are. They're kind of in the same, stage of their rebuild. They're a playoff fringe team. The Flyers could have turtled up after that goal early in the third period, but they didn't. They kept battling. They kept pushing. They kept into their game. Another maturation moment, another growth moment for this team. And a lot of people are like, well, they gave up the point. Yeah, who cares? Who really cares? So to answer your question, Steve, is their floor rising? Yes, absolutely. Because there is growth. There's growth in this team. Offensively, this team is starting to develop an identity. Now, is it the identity that's going to win them a Stanley Cup? No, but it's an identity. So that means the young players of this team are beginning to develop an identity. They are beginning to feel comfortable in roles. They are beginning to feel comfortable on lines. They are beginning to feel comfortable in their hockey bodies. The Cates, Brink, Forrester line has been kind of carrying the day, but here we go. Now we got Morgan Frost scoring goals. Now you got Joel Farabee back from the dead with a couple 3 points in the last few games. You got Mitchkov, who's still figuring his way through this, but you got people starting now to kind of complement each other on lines. And that's how this stuff starts. This is how you get to where you need to be, by these players kind of figuring themselves out. So yes, is their floor rising? 100%. As far as their ceiling, Steve, I don't think it is. No, I don't. And I think because of one reason, and that's because the organization will not allow it to rise this year. Steve, unfortunately, your GM, Danny B, has said as much. I don't care about making the playoffs. Oh, I'm sorry, that wasn't Danny B. It was Keith Jones who said that. I don't care about making the playoffs. I don't care about squeaking in as the 8th seed. I care about winning Stanley Cups. And we are going to build this team with that goal in mind. That means we are going to go out and play and build for the future. Last year, Steve, with the ceiling rising, they were sitting at the 6th seed. They were sitting in a spot of playoff. They had a playoff spot, and they were in that spot most of the season. And then all of a sudden, you're dealing with the injury issue to the defensive core down there, down the run, down the stretch, around the trade deadline. And then at the trade deadline, they had an opportunity to maybe go out and find some offensive help, potential goaltending help, defensive reinforcements. They had an opportunity to add at the trade deadline. But what did they do, Steve? They traded their number one defenseman in Sean Walker. And a move that made no sense if you're trying to get into the playoffs. So a team like last year that was in a position of the playoffs, if they go ahead and they make a move like that, I have no doubt that this team will make a similar move at the trade deadline because of what GM has said, that they're trying to build and they're trying to build assets and they're trying to win Stanley Cup. So unfortunately, Steve, for 2024, 2025, I do not think the ceiling is rising, but I 100% agree that the floor is definitely rising. And that's a good thing because that's showing something. That is showing something. Cates appears to be the one benefiting. Yeah, Cates does. He absolutely does appear to be benefiting. And it's a good thing to see. Obviously, that whole line has been really well. And listen, if that's the number 3 line going forward, I can live with that, Steve. I can live with that being the number 3 line going forward. The problem is we don't have a 1 or 2 or 4 yet, but I can live with that as my number 3. And that's a step in the right direction. We're developing that. The players are developing that. We have a team ripe with role players, and now they're finding out what their roles are. And that's a start. And that's where we go from. And then we start adding pieces from there. I do agree with that, though. At some point, isn't playoff experience for younger dudes part of the maturation process? Absolutely, Steve. It is. But when you look at it from where the Flyers sit right now, currently in 24-25, let's look at where the Flyers are. And what I mean by that, let's look at the whole team. Okay? Draft in 25. What are we drafting at this year? We got potentially three first round picks. The Edmonton pick could potentially be deferred to next year, but right now it's a first round pick. So that's 3 first round picks. 3, 2 second round picks. So you got 5 picks in the first 50 picks of the draft. They don't have cap this summer. They go into the summer with about $31 million of cap space. And that's before you sign your draft picks. That's before you sign your restricted free agents. So they have a few of them. That's before they go ahead and they round out the Phantoms. That's before they do any of that stuff. They got about $31 million in cap. So when that works itself out, you're looking at about $15 million of cap. So you're not players in free agency, right? There's no way for the Flyers at this point in the season to legitimately be a Stanley Cup contender without selling off some of the assets that they have, which are draft picks. And right now, I agree. I don't think it's worth mortgaging an 8th seed and a first round playoff exit and give up a first round draft pick in the process of trying to add some this year. It's not worth it. And unfortunately, this season here, right here, right here, this season, it's going to be the same thing it's going to be next year. It's not until the summer of 2026 that things are going to start to change. And potentially at the trade deadline next year, maybe they change. Maybe they're like, well, you know what? We got cap room coming into the summer of 26. We built up some assets. We got players maturing. We got some draft picks that are starting now to round in the form. We know what we got specifically with this team. Let's go ahead and just try to pick up a number 1 center. Let's go ahead and try to pick up somebody in a trade, a scorer somewhere. So unfortunately, Steve, I agree with your point that a playoff appearance for a young team is part of the maturation process. But right now, the stakes of making the playoffs to them, in my opinion, just don't jive. They're going to ride it out this year. They're going to trade somebody at the deadline. They're going to send a lot that might get dealt, or Morgan Frost might get dealt. Somebody's going to get dealt veteran-wise that can help out another team, and they're going to bring back a first-round pick in exchange for that player. They're going to follow the same playbook they did last year. They're going to follow the same playbook into the summer they did. And then they're going to start 26 or 25, 26 the same way. Now, moving into 26 and beyond, that's when it's time to nut up or shut up, right? That's when it's time to get things moving for the Flyers in the right direction, in an expeditious way. I do agree with that. The Flyers are a role player. You ain't kidding, Steve. That's what they do best here, man. We all role players, boy. They don't hit on 3 of these 5 picks. I will be disappointed. At least a hit on 2. Yeah, but here's also the double-edged sword. What's one of the picks? One of the picks is theirs, obviously, and that's what, 15-ish, somewhere in there. What is the other pick? The other pick, I believe, is Colorado's, which they got for Sean Walker. Now, that's going to be, unfortunately, in the back end of the first round. And then the other pick, is it Edmonton's? Let's see. Let's look at that here. I really should have this memorized. So, yes, so they have Colorado's. They have their own. They have Colorado's first round pick, and they have Edmonton's first round pick, which would be a conditional pick if Edmonton could still use that pick this year, and it would go to 26. But Colorado and Edmonton are the other 2 teams' first round picks they have. They're not getting top 10. None of those picks are going in the top 10. It's all going to be like 14 and below is where they're going to be picking in the first round. So take where you want from that as well, Steve. That's not a great place to be looking for the Sidney Crosbys of tomorrow. It's not a great place to be looking for the Patrick Kanes of tomorrow. It's not there, but they got to do their homework, man. But there's players out there that could impact the team in 2 years in this draft. And we've been breaking down a lot of those players over the past couple weeks. We started breaking down the 2025 NHL draft. We're going to kick it into high gear here as we move forward, but there are players out there that can help them. I don't know if they can even get a third for Farbs or Frost. A third, I think they could. Listen, I didn't think they could get a first for Sean Walker. I mean, think about it. Sean Walker's a D3 on the Colorado Avalanche. He's not a top 9 pairing guy. But he's got that veteran savvy. Now the Flyers don't have a veteran. I mean, Farabee or Frost don't have veteran savvy either. I'm not saying I'm just throwing players. I would love for them to move those players. And honestly, I'd take a 3rd round pick or a 4th round pick or a 5th round pick for those guys because I'm looking to get rid of contract space, especially on Farabee. I want that contract on. Farabee ain't going anywhere with this team. Joel Farabee is get off the bus here. And this is it. So I would be okay with moving Farabee along for a 4th round pick if the team that I'm moving along for takes the complete contract off my hands. Then I would definitely move off of that. Don't give me some J.O. Well, that's where you're looking at players in that area. Listen, Jetlachenko, man, I hate to say it, and I'm not putting a voodoo spell on him or anything, but come on. Jetlachenko taking at 13. He was a 2nd round projection, man, on everybody's board, mine included. Jetlachenko at 13. That was a reach for me. That was a straight reach with Cole Iserman still out there. Oh man, don't get me started. All right. But there you go. There's my Flyers. Steve, great segue, Steve, as we moved in. I knocked out the Flyers, got the Eagles out of the way, knocked out the Flyers. Now let's get into some of our segments of the night, the pre-program segments that we do here on the program every single night. Let's start with that of the night segment and see what we got for that one. All right, that is this is the of the night segment. This is the part of the show where we talk about an MLB draft target or an NHL draft target or a Flyers prospect player, a Phillies prospect player, and we highlight or spotlight a Phillies or Flyers player. Just kick it around a little bit. We've broadened our net because we are in baseball season now. Can you believe it? Baseball season, Division I college baseball starts on Valentine's Day, man. We are how many days away from we are 25 days away from pitchers and catchers reporting to spring training. And 27 days away from the start of Division I college baseball. Can you freaking believe it? So tonight, we're of the night segment, we're going to go back to the MLB draft. We did it last time, MLB. We're going to do it again because we talked about Luke Stevenson, the catcher from North Carolina last night. Well, I'm going to go with the other projected first-round catcher in this year's draft tonight, and that would be Mr. Caden Bodine of Coastal Carolina. A switch hitter. Bodine is proficient from both sides of the plate and has some of the best contact skills in the draft, recording an 8% strikeout rate while batting. His slash line was 328, 411, and 523 with 9 homers as a friggin' sophomore. So he's on the younger side of things, but just like Luke Stevenson, like I talked about last night, the best catching prospect in this year's draft, Bodine represents the future and a position that the Phillies have a need. They have a need at catcher. And it's more of we have some younger catchers in the system right now, and I'm not saying that JT Realmuto is going to be able to hang on for the next 4 years. Not saying that, and I don't want him to, but we are pretty thin prospectly at catcher. Don't get me started on freaking Logan O'Hoppe. All right, we're pretty thin there when it comes to catcher. We have Disson, who's in Double-A. We have Eduardo Tate, who's probably going to be in Clearwater to start the season. Probably, yeah, I'd say no, Jersey Shore. I wouldn't be surprised if he starts the season in Jersey Shore. But that's it. There's nobody in Disson's in Double-A, but he's like 1,000 years away from the major leagues at Double-A. There's nobody really above Double-A that the Phillies can lean on right now to help out. And we have a need at catching. Not maybe this year, but in 26 we do, because what's JT Realmuto going to do with no contract? And God forbid they sign him to an extension. So I'm just saying, Stevenson from last night, the catcher from North Carolina, and then Caden Bodine from Coastal Carolina, a younger kid. What's he, 20 years old heading into this season? Will be his junior year. Why not take a flyer on a catcher? We need to start kind of rebuilding our catching crop, and I think he is the perfect guy to do that with. And there you go. There's my of the night MLB draft. Caden Bodine, the catcher from Coastal Carolina. Now let's get into the other of the 3 segments, my all-time Phillies roster. All right. So in response to me being tired of being asked who I think are the best Phillies players at each position, I said, to hell with it. I'm going to do a blanket stroke, and I'm going to present to you my all-time Phillies roster. We're going from first base all the way around the diamond, and we're also going to do 5 starting pitchers and a closer. So we are in left field tonight as we have gone up to left field. A quick recap on who I've selected up to this point. I couldn't come up with one first baseman, so I came up with 2 first basemen, Ryan Howard and Pete Rose as my all-time first baseman. No brainer here. A man who was snubbed out of the Hall of Fame this year. God, he better make it next year. Chase Utley is my all-time Phillies second baseman. His counterpart, both on the Hall of Fame ballot and all his years in Philadelphia, Jimmy Rollins, is my all-time Phillies shortstop. And there's a no-brainer here at third base. I think I was going to put Rick Shue up there. No, Mike Schmidt obviously is my all-time third baseman. And a shocker at catcher, Mike Lieberthal is my all-time Phillies catcher. I think he was a victim of playing in some god-awful Phillies baseball. All right, 94 to 06 was not what you call the glory years of Phillies franchise history. But even on those teams, Lieberthal was a stalwart behind the plate. He rarely took a game off. I think he's the best catcher in Phillies history. Into the outfield now. How can I not select Richie Ashburn as my all-time Phillies center fielder? Batted over 300 in his Phillies career, over 2,200 hits. Why would I not go with Richie Ashburn? 1995 Hall of Fame inductee along with Mike Schmidt that year. Richie Ashburn is my all-time center fielder. And that leads me to my all-time Phillies left fielder. He's actually by trade a center fielder, but my outfield's pretty crowded. So I'm going to put him in left. How could I not have a Phillies outfield without the Secretary of Defense? How could I not have a Phillies outfield without 75% of the world is covered with water? The other 25% is covered by Gary friggin' Maddox. From 75 to 86, the Secretary played in over 1,300 Phillies games, batted 284, over 1,300 hits, 506 RBIs, 85 home runs, and a OPS of 729, and probably hands down the best defensive outfielder to ever play for the Philadelphia Phillies in their history. He is my all-time left fielder. As again, I'm jumbling up the outfield a little bit. I know by position or by trade he's a center fielder, but I have no qualms believing that Gary Maddox can't play left field. So there you go. There is my all-time left fielder and Gary Maddox. That will lead me to right field tomorrow night. And then we get into our starting rotation, which I will go through all in one night. I'll give you 5 pitchers, bang, 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 bang. And then my closer on a separate night as we'll wrap it all up. And my manager as well, my all-time Phillies manager. So that's a fun segment, man. I like doing that. There you go. There is my Phillies lineup at this point. Taillon could be a 20-year-old. He could be. And I think, Steve, he is definitely looked at in the organization as the bridge to Real Muto. Well, he's not the bridge. I don't know who the bridge is, honestly. It ain't friggin' Garrett Stubbs. It ain't Marshawn. I don't know who the hell the bridge to Real Muto is, but I think Tate is the guy. Steve, do you see it in any world where they would accelerate him from high A to Major League Baseball in one season? I know we've seen it over the last Johan Rojas, Ryan Kerkering. I know there's precedent there, but catcher? I mean, talk about night and day from level to level. And how would the Phillies rotation be with all that? I don't know. I think honestly, depending on what he does this year, Steve, I could see them inviting him to spring training in 26 and giving him a solid look then and starting him out with the team from the get-go. I think they're going to keep an eye on him, and I'm going to keep an eye on him, of course, with our Down on the Phillies farm segment that we'll do on the Fightins final this year. But I would be hard-pressed to believe that he will find his way to the majors this year. I don't see it. Maybe he is, but I don't see it. Greg Lizzie wasn't a great fielder, but he's an all-time hitting left fielder. All right, Steve, stop taking thunder away. Again, my outfield's a little jumbled right now. All right, so we got some outfielders kind of playing out of position. You'll have to wait for right field tomorrow to find out who that might be and if he's an actual right fielder. It's all about this year's progression. Yes, I agree, Steve, but I also think there's more involved there because there's 2 sides of the catching coin. A lot of people gloss over the defensive importance of a catcher and what they do on the field. You know, the catcher is the captain of the defense. He positions players. You know, he calls the game. He is like the manager, literally the manager on the field. And is that too much to ask a kid from Panama who might not even be able to speak the language yet that proficiently to do? I'm just saying. And again, I'm not. Maybe he can, but I'm not. When you look at catcher, Steve, how many times in baseball history have we always looked at a catcher's ability behind the plate before we looked at his ability at the plate? I mean, let's be honest, right? There's been very rare instances where catchers have been able to be both prolific offensively and defensively. Gary Carter, Johnny Bench, Mike Piazza, some cases in JT Realmuto. Those are the catchers that lived up to their hype on both sides. But mainly when we look at Carlos Ruiz, who's probably up there as one of the best Phillies catchers, he wasn't the most prolific offensive catcher, but he was a hell of a defender, right? When you look at catchers like what's the kid from what's the Yankees catcher for all those years during those? Posada. He wasn't prolific offensively, but he controlled that rotation. He controlled that team. So, it's kind of a different type of grading scale when it comes to catchers, in my opinion. Sir Anthony was the last player I remember going from straight from A+ to the pros. Well, no, Kerkering did it. Kerkering did it 2 years ago. He went from high A all the way up to Major League Baseball in one season. Unless you're talking about he stopped at A and then went right up to the major leagues. Is that what you're talking about? If so, yeah, you're right. Because Kerkering actually went up the ladder and then to the majors. But all right, so there you go. There it is. There's my all-time Phillies roster. I've done my Of the Night segment. That leaves me with one last segment to do. It's my favorite one of all time ever. It's my favorite segment. Where's the music? Let's do it.
Looks a little something like this. Looks a little bit like I can't miss. Hey, this is what you call a bad. What? This is what you call a bad. What? Looks a little something like this. Looks a little bit like I can't miss. Hey, this is what you call a bad. What? This is what you call a bad.
All right, here we go. It's MattyB's It's MattyB's card review segment. This is the part of the show where I take one of my vast cards from my vast collection. I shouldn't have said vast too many times. One of my cards from my vast sports card collection. And we cut it around. We play with it. We have fun with it. I started doing this months ago. Really enjoy doing it. It's become a staple here on the program. We kind of finish every night with it. So let's get it rolling tonight. And usually I have a pretty little graphic that I put up to kind of show off the card first. Then I show you the actual physical card. But tonight's card, I can't find anywhere. I can't find a graphic for it because it's not on any database that I use. It's not out there. It has not been added to a database, which means it has not really been sold yet to an online company or a brokerage company. This card hasn't found its way there yet, which doesn't mean it won't be there tomorrow or next week, but it's just not there yet. It's a card from 2024. It's a card from the Topps holiday set. Now, we did the Topps holiday set a couple nights ago, I think, with Paul Skeens. Talked about his rookie card from the holiday set. This is a card from the same set, but this is one of the gimmick cards. This is a relic auto rookie card of a pitcher. And it's one of those holiday gimmicks where they put the player in a Santa hat, and then the relic is the actual piece of the hat. And it's an auto. And this card is the 2024 Kyle Harrison. He's the pitcher from the San Francisco Giants. This is his rookie card of the 2024 Topps holiday set. Again, I have not been able to find this card on any of the databases that I look at or any of the databases that I use. I pulled this out of a pack about a month and a half ago around Christmas time. Now, for those of you who are wondering who the hell is Kyle Harrison, well, he pitches for the Giants. He broke into Major League Baseball at the tail end of 2023. His first full year was last season. He was 8-8 with a 4.47 ERA and 153 strikeouts. He's a left-hander. He was taken by the Giants in the 2020 draft in the first round. Projects, I believe, in the Giant rotation of 2025. I think he's projected to be their third or maybe fourth pitcher in their rotation. His rookie cards that I have found, I found a few of his rookie cards anywhere between $20, depending on the card, and on anywhere to around $500. Again, depending on the type of card, super refractor, chrome, relic, auto. There's a whole bunch of those floating around of him. They're all over the place. He's got a very bright future in Major League Baseball, but players like this, you don't know what their future really is going to be. It's this is one of those situations where you buy low and sell high, kind of type thing. But again, this card, his rookie from the 2024 Topps holiday set, I cannot find it on any database right now. As I'm not saying I have the only one. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that I have a card that's not necessarily found its way into the seller's market yet. But there you go. There's my MattyB card of the night, the Kyle Harrison rookie card from 2024. Chooch was the best 8 hitter in baseball, given how he got on base. Yes, but he wasn't prolific. Like, when you think of Carlos Ruiz, what do you think of? Do you think of his offensive clutch moments? No, you think of the way he called a game. He was reliable. He controlled that game, and obviously the iconic with Brad Lidge, right? He's definitely one of the better catchers in Phillies history. But we ask catchers to do different things. That's pretty much all I'm saying. And Steve also says Sir Anthony skipped the ladder. Yeah, he did. He absolutely did. All right, everybody. Listen, it's been fun. We talked about a litany of things. Obviously, the train of tonight was the Eagles. Heading into Sunday, Saquon Barkley accounted for 37% of the Eagle offense in 2024. Accounted for 28% of their touchdowns in 2024. So far in the playoffs, I didn't give you guys these numbers. I'll give it to you real quick. So far in the playoffs, Saquon Barkley has accounted for 11% of the passing offense, or 12%, I should say, of the passing offense, and 71.3% of the rushing offense, and about 3% of actually about 25% of the touchdowns that the Eagles have scored so far this postseason. How comfortable do you feel that the Eagles are putting way too much on Saquon Barkley? And how comfortable are you feeling that if the Washington Commanders do what they did on Sunday, what they did back in Week 16, by finding a way to say essentially to Kenny Pickett at the time, you're going to beat us with your arm. We don't respect you as a thrower. We're going to put everybody in the box. We're going to put everybody up on the line. We're going to run a lot of base. We're going to run a lot of cover, and you're going to have to beat us with your arm. How much of that do the Redskins do? Yeah, that's right. I call them the Redskins. How much of that do the Redskins account for? What they dinged up Jalen Hurts? Do they do the same thing? Do they tell Jalen Hurts in all his immobility, you're going to beat us with your arm today? You're going to get out of the pocket. You're going to scramble. You're going to run. You're going to beat us as a quarterback today, because we are not going to let Saquon Barkley do it. Come hell or high water, we are not letting Saquon Barkley. We are not going down the same road that the damn Rams did. We are going to do everything we can in our power to stop Saquon. And if they do that, how confident are people out there that the Eagles offense has enough mojo to get a win? It's an interesting point. The second point was, with Jalen Hurts' physical limitations, would the Eagles be better off? And I mean this seriously. Would the Eagles be better off turning the game over to a quarterback that can actually run Kellen Moore's playbook? Now that you don't have the X factor of Jalen Hurts, you don't have the mobility factor. He's clipped. He can't move. Would you be better off throwing it to a quarterback that actually can run the playbook? Would the Eagles be better off with that? And how much of a gamble are the Eagles putting on Jalen Hurts that he's that guy? We'll see, because he hasn't proven it yet. Talked about the Flyers. Thanks to Steve. Brought up the Flyers and their recent surge. Your day of Philadelphia sports history was Charles Barkley on this night became the all-time rebounding leader in franchise history. We did our of the night segment was the 2025 MLB draft pick catching prospect Caden Bodine from Coastal Carolina. We did the Phillies all-time roster. We debuted our left fielder. That's right. I know he's a center fielder by trade, but Gary Maddox is my left fielder in the Phillies outfield. And, of course, we did our card of the night, Kyle Harrison, the 2024 Topps holiday rookie card. And that's going to wrap me up, folks. Thank you. I want to thank everybody for being involved. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Remember the greatness that's happening on the network tomorrow night. Sal will be back tomorrow night for the Clear the Ice program, Flyers Rangers. I'll be back on Friday for the Flyers Islanders. I'll also be back on Friday for the Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn, Friday at 4:30, as we will promo and preview that game. And tomorrow night, I'll be back, of course, with which will be the final. No, it won't. Yeah, tomorrow's Thursday, right? Yeah, tomorrow will be our final episode of The Final Word for the week. So make sure you're tuning in and all the great programming we have here at the network. So until we talk again, I hope you guys have a great rest of your night and an even better tomorrow.